everyone. Thank you all for being here today, partners, advocates, survivors, and supporters in our shared mission to combat domestic violence in Chicago. Your presence is a testament to our collective commitment to this critical issue. So as we gather here today, we honor the brave individuals and organizations dedicated to this fight. We remember those lost to domestic violence and uplift the ongoing work that still needs to be done. In fact, some of our alders continue to do that work downstairs in a hearing that is continuing since 9:30 a.m. this morning. But what we're going to do now is we're going to welcome the Mayor of Chicago, Mayor Brandon Johnson.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Have we made it to the afternoon yet? All right. All right, good afternoon. Thank you, Yumi, for your leadership. I'm grateful that we have a company of alders who are committed to what ultimately is, the first of its kind, making real promises and commitment to Black women and Black girls. And I'm grateful that Alderman David Moore and Alderwoman Emma Mitts are both here, but I'm also grateful for the sponsors of this resolution to create this task force, Alderwoman Coleman and Alderwoman Taylor. Could you give them all a round of applause, and the entire Black Caucus? This Purple Promise reception is something that, of the time that I've experienced as mayor of the city of Chicago, this is one of those initiatives that reminds me of why it's important to have the right leadership in place. In honor of Domestic Violence Awareness Prevention Month, I'm grateful that we can come together and celebrate the progress that we are making as a city. Today is a celebration with purpose, though. We have to continue to raise awareness about domestic violence and gender-based violence, because speaking up is the first step to breaking the cycle of violence. As we advocate for stronger protections for our communities, we as Chicagoans have to create safer spaces where Black women and Black girls can tell the truth and be believed. Domestic and gender-based violence are urgent issues that we must confront together as an entire city. Since my administration came into office over a year ago, we have been working hard, doing things differently to invest in our people and communities to create a safer city. The same challenges that contribute to domestic violence are the same challenges that contribute to community violence. It's the lack of opportunities. It's the lack of a social safety net. It's the disinvestment of our communities that often lead to violence. We have to recognize that oftentimes the perpetrators of violence in our city are victims of disinvestment. They're also victims of being left behind. Upon coming into office, my administration set out an agenda to do more than the city has done before, to make more investments, to create more opportunities, and become more engaged with the people of this beloved city. We established the People's Plan for Community Safety to focus all of our violence prevention and intervention efforts on communities that experience violence the most. This plan aims to heal both perpetrators and victims of violence. It also aims to protect the most vulnerable population, which of course is very obvious. It's Black women who experience the highest rates of violence in our city. To eradicate gender-based violence and domestic violence, we look to the leadership of the city's Gender-Based Violence Task Force and the Gender-Based Violence Division in the Department of Family and Support Services. We also engage with community leaders, experts, advocates, and survivors who understand the issue and can be the best information that city government can have because they know what's needed and what works. I've been honored to meet with survivors and experts with several roundtables, but it also has been very, not just humbling, but hard to digest. I'm grateful that we had an opportunity to co-host a roundtable and an opportunity to have a better connection to those who are experiencing domestic violence with the network at Wings Metro Safe House. We've also had roundtables focused on teen violence and violence in the LGBTQ+ community. Survivors have been able to share their stories and the critical resources that they need to break the cycle of violence. They were able to share those stories directly with me and city officials. Our commitment to this work is imbued with the lived experiences and the ideas from the communities that are most impacted by the issue. And our commitment to this work is one that will never waver. But their partnerships will also help us build upon the progress that we've made so far. And last year's budget, we added $5 million to the Gender-Based Violence Survivor Fund to support economic stability for survivors who need access to housing, health care, and other resources. This year, a total of $10 million has been invested in that fund, and we are working diligently with DFSS to serve over 6,500 survivors. $10 million, double the amount, putting our money where our hearts are. And in partnership with the Chicago's Department of Housing, APNAGAR, and the network, we're developing at Six Corners a housing project that will provide 64 affordable housing units for survivors and children of violence. 64 affordable housing units that will give families the ability to not only escape from their torment and torture, but to live a life that is worth living. And so as Alderwoman Taylor and Coleman have eloquently described and have worked and have provided incredible testimony, the Committee on Public Safety, this subject matter hearing, as we lift up missing women and girls, this task force, it's reinforcing the urgency of addressing this issue through citywide coordination. And as we know that domestic violence impacts every single community, and it knows no economic, cultural, or geographical boundaries. However, we must recognize that this issue impacts Black and Latinx women at a much higher rate. Last year, Illinois saw a 32% increase in domestic violence victim deaths from the previous year, and we know that the minority women are much more likely to be killed by an intimate partner. These statistics represent real lives, real Chicagoans, neighbors who are experiencing real pain. So again, I applaud Alderwoman Jeanette Taylor and Alderwoman Stephanie Coleman, who co-sponsored the resolution back in April to establish the Missing Women and Girls Task Force. And so through this task force, I'm confident that we will deepen our impact in our work to create safer communities. And I pray that we will continue to make sure that we serve women and girls in our cities, in our city and their families, and particularly those that have lost loved ones. City Council presented a proclamation honoring October as Domestic Violence Awareness and Prevention Month, reaffirming our commitment to our people and our communities. That includes the members of the Gender-Based Violence Task Force. And of course, I want my deepest gratitude to be felt today. And so with that, I have a proclamation, again, doubling down on our efforts of showing our commitment to all of the incredible, brave souls that recognize that this issue is one that not only requires attention, it requires work and justice. Thank you on behalf of the city of Chicago. Oh, group photo? Okay.
Right there, sir. Yes, we're moving the podium.
Stay here.
Yeah, you stay there.
What happened? Oh yeah. It's a Fox reunion. I saw this up here. Impact.
No problem. I'm just